Hey, it's Eric. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you of a free Neurodivergent Pride Month panel that I will be a part of, hosted by Adhd Rewired and Shimmer. It's this Thursday, June 13th at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 Eastern. Join us to hear some diverse and neurodivergent queer perspectives. You can ask us questions, it's going to be fabulous, and it's free. And if you can't make it, I'm told that as long as you sign up, you'll get the recording sent to you. All are welcome. Go to adhdrewired.com/pride2024. That's adhdrewired.com/pride2024. And our next coaching group registration event is on Friday, the 14th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. I'll have more info at the very end of today's Coaches Roundtable. But you can go now to coachingrewired.com to learn more and to add your name to the interest list so you can start pre-registering. That's coachingrewired.com. Okay, let's get on with it. ADHD Rewired, episode 537. Since 2014, this has been the podcast for ADHD adults who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. I'm Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and an ADHD certified clinical services provider by training and a coach by design. I'm your host, and I have ADHD. ADHD Rewired is more than just a podcast. You can learn about our coaching and accountability groups, our virtual co-working community, and more, all at ADHDrewired.com. We are wired for connection, and you are not alone. Learn more about our offerings, including our monthly live Q&As, get additional resources for every episode, including links to any resources we mentioned on today's show. You can support us on Patreon, sign up for our email newsletter, and more. All at ADHDrewired.com. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. Don't forget to hit subscribe or follow on your podcast app so you never miss an episode. We know that starting is the hardest part, so let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired. We are back here once again for week 7 of our Coaches Roundtable series, where I am talking with Coach Kristen Martz and Coach Brian Entler, and we are kind of going through week by week, talking about what we actually talk about in our coaching groups. And week 7 is, I call it like the big heart week, because it is, we are looking at, some really, really tough issues and some tough questions. It's one of the things I always tell people in group is that, like, I am not just interested in helping you get better at planning, but I am interested in helping you plan better things. And by doing that, we're talking about expanding our time horizon, often in a much, much longer way than people often ever have. So, and we do that by looking at things like those nagging thoughts that, like, oh, one day I want to do this, one day I want to do that. Right. But like, if we're not careful, one day is going to come and go, and we're not going to have the opportunity to do the thing that really matters to us. So Kristen and Brian, let's chat about what was it like in your groups talking about sort of legacy and our ultimate deadlines.
Well, it was a real hoot. People just love talking about their mortality, Eric. We just laughed and laughed. Is that a real question? No, of course it's a somber topic. It's a somber topic, and I see some confusion because I always make sure I direct folks to pre-read the materials the week before so it doesn't sneak up on them. And people are sometimes like a little, I see reticence where people are not sure, like, why are we talking about this topic? And the way I like to frame it, similarly to the way you just described, is that, we're putting all this time and effort into improving our ability to plan things and to be more efficacious and get more things done, be more productive. But let's make sure all that energy and all this work we're doing to do more stuff is going to the right stuff, going to the stuff that matters to us. I've mentioned, time and time again, we tend to try to be workaholics and try to be more productive and work twice as hard to feel like we're keeping up with neurotypical folks. And that really lends it to the idea of that, like, oh, we're trying to keep up at work. We're trying to keep up with home. We're trying to keep up all that stuff. We feel overwhelmed with that. But where is the leftover energy to work on lifelong stuff, where on our dreams, our goals, our hopes? And without without the dopamine burst we get from working on stuff that's genuinely joyful and genuinely feels like our purpose and genuinely elevates us emotionally and spiritually, if we're just doing the drudge work and not doing any of that work, it's gonna be a lot more difficult to lead a whole healthy and fully engaged life if we're just going through the motions. So that's why we go through this idea. People sometimes don't grasp it and sometimes have a little bit of time explaining it, but then when they catch on, they really catch on. They really see that, like, oh, this is why it's important. This is why we don't have we all, like ADHD folks tend to have this sense of the bias to the now. We seem to feel like the moment that we're in now is like this infinite now stretching out in every direction behind us and forward us, but we really don't have the infinite now. So putting everything in the context of time to make it a little bit more difficult to procrastinate on getting this stuff done, because we don't have forever to get it done. It's kind of the ultimate why statement. We don't have an unlimited amount of time to get this stuff done. So let's make it sure before we move into our monthly and yearly planning seminar next week, let's stress the importance of making sure these type of things are included in our planning priorities on the equal footing with things we do for our career and things we do for our education and for other people and coworkers and whatnot. So the end.
I just have to say, I love highly caffeinated Brian.
Get this backpack. I'm going on this vacation.
So, one of the things that I in my sessions, I do some storytelling to give sort of context and to give this emotional resonance for the stuff, because it's not an easy topic, and I think it is important to kind of get to the heart when you're thinking about things like our mortality. Or I share the story about my friend Tom Nardone, who has been on the podcast years ago, and where when he was going through, he learned that he had a brain tumor, and we was talking about, how there was like the day before he had his first biopsy, and he was like pretty scared about the surgery. And one of the things he said, it so resonated, was this idea that, like, when we hear about we hear about people getting cancer, we hear about people, being in a bad car accident, or it's something that's just like, you don't expect these things. We always think that happens to other people. And I think it's so important that we recognize and sort of live life, with this idea of, like, learn as if you're going to live forever, but live as if you might die tomorrow. Right? Because we don't know. And all those, like, obviously we don't want the bad things to happen to us. We want to live a long life. But I think that to recognize that, like, shit does happen, and being sort of humbled by sometimes the cruel realities of the world that shit happens, it creates this sense of urgency that's this one day thing that so many of us sort of struggle with. So, yeah, I'll get to this one day when I have more time, when that. One day might never come if you don't take it by the horns and actually start, like, doing things to make it happen. And I just think it's such an important thing that we really learn to sort of create boundaries around and carve out time to do the things that we are longing for, to do the things that we love to do that matter. Because you know how many people say on their deathbed they wish they would have worked more? None. And for some of our members, this is a hard conversation, especially if death or illness has been or something in their family's immediate sort of story. And I think that even with that, I think it's that much more important to even lean into the best that you can to these kinds of things. Because it's, one of the things I like to share is that if I were to have a crystal ball given to me 10, 15 years ago, and someone said, this is what you would have done in the next 10 to 15 years, I would have been like, this thing is BS. Like, that's not real. Right. And so it's like, we can get so caught up in the day-to-day busyness that we sort of lose sight that, like, if we identify one or two things that are really, really important that we want to do each year, it's so doable. It's so doable. And so we really try to give members that hope and that courage and that confidence that, I actually can start planning a more intentional life with these longer term goals, these longer term dreams, and start actually making them a reality. So in this week, we talk about our legacy, and then we also talk about our bucket lists, and which is one of my favorite parts of group, because it's so I find that we get to know our members in such a unique way when we share our bucket lists with each other. So Kristen, I don't think we've heard from you yet from this session. What kinds of things have you found resonated most with members? What has been a struggle for members?
Two things come up, one for each part of A Day.
Yeah, I just want to jump in really quick while editing this. A Day, so we do A Day, B Day, and C Day. Because we used to only do group on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That was easy. When we started to create multiple schedules, that some were Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday. Anyways, we have different permutations of group schedules. So A Day refers to the first day of the week, B Day, the second, C Day, the third. Okay, back to our conversation.
Two things come up, one for each part of A Day, is that one of the things that has tended to be a pattern in any case is not just the things coming up through those journal prompts of what they want to do that they have a passion for before their life ends. What are some of the practical things that they realize, like if they have children, they want to have a will and where those kids, and it really kind of shocks them into, oh, I do need to plan that. I might not have a choice. I might not have a say in it if I don't. And so there's, I've even seen an admin go through who talked with the group, redid the whole practice, said the first time it was all these practical things and started putting them into goals and plans and tasks. And this time when the person went through it, the person shared that, oh, this is more dreamy, more things I want to do that would, fulfill me kind of things. This season, I was usually, to me, the bucket list is like this palate cleanser, like you said, and getting to know the members. And this was maybe the first time I heard a real aha around it. One of the members was like, when the hell did I stop being a dreamer? Because they struggled with completing that list but knew all the things they had wanted to do 10 years ago and went, whoa, what's going on? Oh, and was excited. First I was reluctant to share this, but then I remember this person was really excited that got that aha, because I think it could be bittersweet. You go, oh, when did I stop being? But this person wanted to move forward with it and was very excited. And that was neat. That was neat to hear.
I don't know about you, Brian. One of the things that because I know you have some members of your group who have taken the group before. One of the things that I've been getting kind of excited about as we've been having people retake the program is how many people are sharing bucket list items that they've actually done since their first time in group. And to me, it's so cool. It's like some of these things are big deal things.
Absolutely. Was that a setup, Eric?
That was a setup. You can take it.
Okay. Yeah.
Brian's snarky today. I really kind of like it.
I appreciate good, excellent segue. Well, Eric's alluded to the fact that I've spoken about that. I am involved in a organization where every year it's called the AIDS Life Cycle. It's a fundraising organization where it's like a bike-a-thon. We raise money for LGBTQ healthcare by riding our bikes from San Francisco to Los Angeles. And this is actually something that I set as a goal for myself in my original season, back in season 22, by putting it on my bucket list. Shortly, following the conversation about, mortality, I realized that was something I'd been wanting to do for years, but I was in that very limited mindset where I thought, that's not something I could never do. I'm not the kind of person who could do all the training and get all the things together and have the discipline to do it and then do all the fundraising and all the stuff you have to do. I didn't have the opinion. I was like, oh, if I try that, I'm just going to fail at it and I'm going to be embarrassed. I don't want to do it. So I realized I'm not getting any younger. So I went for it. After season 22, I made it my goal. And now I'm going to be doing my third one next week. And I proved I am. I am the kind of person who can do that stuff. I can do hard things. And let me tell you, like the enrichment you get in your own life when you get to cross something off your bucket list, it feels amazing. Like that is the dopamine burst that really propels you forward in every area of life, not just your bucket list.
I got goosebumps just hearing you talk about that, Brian. I think that's just amazing. That is amazing. When we're talking about these the bucket list, it gives people also permission to, like, I think, listen to their inner almost child in a sense, like allows them to say, yeah, I want to do these things that are playful and just fun. And when we start connecting these sort of the wild dream to, oh, wait, we can actually learn we have the planning skills now to begin. All right. So when we're getting into, we'll talk about next week with our getting to yearly planning, the first step for planning something big is to schedule the time to plan the big thing. Right. And so just getting on the calendar that, okay, start planning out the cycle training, or planning out the whatever it is, like your bucket list item is. And one of the fun things I love about doing the way we do it is that we all will share our bucket lists. And as a result, I think I currently have 164 items in my bucket list. How many do each of you have?
I've not counted mine. I have way too many to offer the whole share for sure.
I don't know. That's a lot.
But the thing is that we always tell people too, like, just because you put it on the list doesn't mean you have to do it, and you can change your mind as often as you want to. And when we look at, if I have a list of 100 things, am I going to be able to do 100 things on my bucket list in my lifetime? Probably not. If I do half of them, if I do a quarter of them, I think I would be able to say I live a damn good life. And that's sort of this idea of, like, pick one a year, maybe even 2 a year, maybe one every other year. But it's about being intentional and allowing yourself to know that the things you want to do matter. And it's not just about crossing the productivity stuff off that to-do list.
I want to share something. This is something additional that I encourage with my members. And that is it comes from the idea that we have trouble kudoing ourselves. We have trouble recognizing when good things happen for us, or things that we didn't know we wanted until it landed in our lap happen. I encourage members to, if it does something that falls in your lap, to recognize it and go, oh my gosh, if I'd known this was a thing, it'd have been on my bucket list. I'm adding it to it and putting that check. Things come up for us, and we need to celebrate those things because they are a part of who we have grown into also. And so I like that too, because sometimes things go backwards. The thing moving forward is what's helping us to plan and have the anticipation that comes with those kind of dreams. And something I've had people share that they want to time travel and astral project and things that we don't know is completely available to us yet they're thinking, oh, but one of my bucket lists is to live to be 100. Who the hell knows what technology is going to come? I could have something really fun. I want to go, live in space like Star Trek. I don't know.
One of my items that I realized this season that is actually, I don't think it should be on the bucket list, because I think it's a post bucket list thing, and I want to have my ashes mixed within a tree sapling.
Oh, and see, that requires planning around getting someone to take care of that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, Eric?
Yeah.
Would those be getting mixed together in a bucket? How literal are we getting here?
Kristen, did we know that Brian was this funny? I guess.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. He really is on today.
Oh, this is a delight. Kristen, when you're talking about the sort of something falls in your lap on the bucket list. So this is an adult podcast, so I'm going to share something.
Oh no!
Yeah, this is definitely part of my inner dialogue. So should I really be sharing that? So I had something that fell into my bucket list, and it's such an ADHD kind of story. So it was, I think, 4 years. It was pre-COVID, and I was going to see Fish up at Alpine Valley, Wisconsin, and it's 3 nights of concert, and most people go camping, and I was planning on going camping.
And I realized like the weekend before that, I actually had never took care of like reserving a campsite. And everything's booked. So I called my friend who I'm going with. I'm like, so we have a little bit of a problem. I just looked and none of the campsites, like everything's sold out, and even the hotels are sold out. And so he gets back to me and he says, well, I did find another campsite that might not be online. It's a little bit of a different kind of campsite. And he goes, well, how would you feel about going to a clothing optional campsite? And I said, sure, why didn't you lead with that? That sounds fun. But I was like, I didn't really know what to expect. So I'm like doing all this research. I'm like, okay, like, you know, it was a delightful experience, and it was not what I expected. And it was definitely one of those things that I remember thinking like, this should have been on my bucket list. I just didn't know what it was like, because like vulnerability is like such like, I love vulnerability. To be able to have conversations with people who are just not wearing clothes, and it's not sexual. It's just like pure vulnerability. Was an amazing experience for me. And so when you had brought up this idea of like the things that fall in your lap, so I had absolutely put that on the bucket list so I can cross it off saying that I did it.
What a great memory. Yeah. And growth experience, it even sounds like, you know, I think those absolutely have to go on the list. For sure.
And sadly, I think because of COVID, the place didn't stay in business, because I looked and they're nowhere to be found now, which I'm really bummed about.
Yeah, that's hard.
Brian, any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that's a wonderful story, Eric. And I would say, you know, any campground can be a clothing optional campground if you want it to be. So make those opportunities. But that's all I have.
We are recording this. It's 10 to 5, at least Central Time on a Friday. And I think we're all feeling the Fridays right now. So, Brian, again, I wish you the best of luck on your ride, and congratulations. And for podcast time, we'll be back next week. So thank you, everyone. And hopefully we'll maybe catch some of you at a registration event coming up. Our next one is this Friday, June 14th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. After that, our last regular registration event with our current regular rate of $11.99 is on June 19th at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. Or you can join one of 3 late registration events on Monday, June 24th, Wednesday, June 26th, or Thursday, June 27th. The price does go up to $13.99 if you wait until that last week to register. We'd love to get things wrapped up for registration so we can get everything prepped for the new season. So if you've been thinking about it, or you've already decided, but you haven't yet taken action to pre-register, maybe get off the couch and stop scrolling Facebook and go to coachingrewired.com and start pre-registering now. That's coachingrewired.com. And don't forget that Thursday at 1:30 Pacific is the Neurodivergent Pride Month panel. Sign up at adhdrewired.com/pride 2024. It's free. And it's the second Tuesday of the month. So if you're catching this in time and you want to ask me or any of the ADHD Rewired coaches your ADHD related questions, join us on Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific, 1:30 Eastern. You can join us by going to adhdrewired.com/events. And if you've been listening for a while and you notice that we haven't been releasing the previous month's Q&A on the podcast feed, it's honestly because those take more time to edit, and I don't have an editor and I don't have more time. One way you can help with that is by supporting ADHD Rewired financially by becoming a patron at adhdrewired.com/Patreon. That's adhdrewired.com/Patreon. Patreon is Patreon. And I'm writing and recording this right now while my other computer that I call the ASH Top, or Adult Study Hall laptop, is in our 24/7 co-working room at adultstudyhall.com. We have both facilitated sessions and our always open, quiet co-working room. It's only $19.99 a month, which comes out to about 66 cents a day, and it's free to try for the first week. Come co-work with me and other neurodivergent brains. That's adultstudyhall.com. And if you've never tried virtual co-working, come give it a try. It's also not just for working. You can clean, paint, create, do laundry, make dinner, and even just plan your day. What you do is truly up to you. But if you struggle to do it alone, come see if virtual co-working or body doubling might work for you. And you can do that at adultstudyhall.com. That's adultstudyhall.com. All right, we'll catch you back here next week.